I'd like to introduce Doug Hathaway and Patty Mitchell from Account Links. And Doug is a fixture. He's actually co-located in this office, so you see him on occasion as he comes in and out. I have a short bio on each, so I'll just share some information they've provided. Doug was born in Utah, raised in Idaho, and cultured in Japan. He feels most at home in Tennessee. He has one wife, and he specifies one wife, who he married in 1988 and has a 19-year-old son. His credentials include a BA in finance, an MBA in production operations, and during college, Doug swore that he would never become a tax professional. So that just goes the old adage, yeah, never swear anything. But he has become self-described quite fluent at swearing to the IRS. So he has 20 years of generalized business experience and over 12 years in terms of tax-specific experience, and he's credentialed as an enrolled agent. He has significant experience with all things in terms of business tax, personal tax returns, trust, wills, and estate tax returns. The niche that he has worked himself into is tax research, including solar, stock redemptions, buy, sell aspects of distributive share basis calculations for mining operations, cost segregation, and intellectual property. So Doug has a vast experience not only in the taxation, but also in terms of the general business policies and practices and processes. Patty Mitchell has been in the accounting world for over 20 years. She has a master's degree in accounting and currently working on her CPA license. She has worked for a variety of industries from $1 billion in a sales franchise restaurant concept to $20 million real estate firms. And she has developed property management and operated with a development property management owned firm. Her areas of expertise are the general ledger, financial statements, analysis, and cash management. And she's married to the one and only Robert Mitchell. So, the world's second greatest restraint. And they have one lovely young daughter.
Love you, Robert.
So, Doug, just full disclosure, has helped us out on some tax issues in the past, and has been a good resource for First Choice and for Stay at Home. So, with that said, I'll turn it over to you, Doug.
Thank you. So we're going to have Patty drive, and we hope this comes together well. Can you hear me remote well?
Do you have your speaker
Mikey?
on your...
That's okay.
Okay. I can hear myself. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm not sure if anything was coming through there correctly or too much or too little. We have a short slideshow. Prezi, and then goes into another slideshow. It lasts maybe 5 minutes, maybe 15, depending on how fast I speak and how many questions you might have. I really want to start with key performance indicators and go back in history on those. And they really go back to ancient Phoenician traders. And these ancient Phoenician traders, they would get together and they'd say, hey, let's all put in a coin. Okay, we'll take a trip to Italy, we'll buy some cool stuff, we'll take it back, we'll sell it, and we'll make a ton of money. So it's really easy. Put in one coin, you get back 4. That's your key performance indicator. Well, fast forward a couple thousand years, and a lot happens along the way, and a real significant thing happened in the mid-1800s, late 1800s, when railroads started coming along, because we had these investors, and the investors, this is right. So the investors, they wanted to know where they were along the way. The Phoenician investors, they didn't care where things were halfway through the journey, but the railroad investors wanted to know practically every day how much was being spent. So they went to the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper kindly gave them one finger and said, wait a minute, I got too much paperwork to do, so hold on. And they kept holding on. And the investor said, hey, we can't wait forever. You got to get this timely. So the investors sent their engineers to talk to the bookkeepers. Okay? So the engineers came up with this great plan. And the plan was to go through all this data and say, hey, look, you have this number of employees, and it's costing this much for steel, and this much for wood, and this much for dynamite. So we'll just tack all these expenses onto employee overhead. And now, any day of the week, we know how many employees are working, we know how much the costs are. Okay? Now, maybe a century passes and computers come along. And computers are great. They will calculate numbers fast and accurately, but they gotta be right. They gotta be relevant, and they gotta ultimately generate the correct information to make a decision on. Now, the problem was the accountants were still using the same overhead figures, and a lot of the steel mills were doing the same thing, and they made some bad decisions on terminating people rather than improving processes. So that led to bad decision making, and then we realized, hey, we can do better cost accounting, but now we have a delay again in getting the data. So that brings us to today. Go ahead. Today we have systems that allow us to collect the data, integrate it with our systems, so that's completely efficient. It's completely accurate. And accountants will tout this as value pricing. Let me explain what that is. That's where if an accountant says, I'm going to hack on accountants just a little bit, so bear with me. Accountants say, hey, look, if this used to take me 4 hours to do, and now I can do it in 10 hours, I'm only going to charge you 3 hours, and we're going to call that a value. Okay? So that's value pricing, and that's where that's coming from. We do that differently. So we pretty much just take all those efficient tools, those tools that create that efficiency, and we get wholesale rates, and we pretty much just pass our wholesale rate on to you. Where we earn our money is in the expertise that we bring to the board in helping develop better key performance indicators, whether they're a lead measure or a lag measure. And we'll talk about that a little more. Yep, one more. So this is what we do. We automate the data, we personalize the information to help you optimize the decision. So there's a, do you remember where it is? Can you find it?
Yeah. I think I see it right there.
Yeah. So when it comes to franchising and the franchisee-franchisor relationship, we really want to help with that brand advocacy. So there's really 3 parts to it. The first is this fairness issue, and it's making sure those royalty payments are timely and accurate. The next is focusing on them focusing on building their business and letting us focus on just taking care of all that back end stuff, the back office. The next part is data, well, it's data integrity, and there's 2 parts to data integrity, and really Patty is the expert on those. So I'll start it off, but
Yeah.
really she needs to really talk about this.
Okay, so
You're breaking up again.
one important item is the chart of accounts conformance. And when I was part of an organization that had 1,000 units, franchise units, we had to have a chart of accounts that everybody used the same accounts for all of their expenses and revenue. If we didn't do that with 1,000 stores, that would have been complete chaos, and analysis on those numbers would have been irrelevant. So that's a very important aspect. Another is data entry consistency. If you have, let's say, 10 stores, and everyone is coding certain items to supplies, and you're reviewing that expense account, and you have everyone is averaging, say, $1,000 a month, but then you have one unit who has $5,000 in sales, or not sales, but supplies, you can say, what are they doing? You can drill into that particular store, and then come to find out they coded something incorrectly. It should have been in advertising, or it should have been in supplies, or vice versa. So data entry consistency is very important as far as income statement analysis and even balance sheet analysis.
All right, thank you. So along that line, I was doing a tax return on a podiatrist a few months ago, and he gives me the data, and I tell him, hey doc, we got a problem here, because you know that the IRS computers, they audit every return, okay? So what they do is they look at your NAICS code, your industry code, and your peers in that group, and if your sales are this much, and your ratio for any expense to that sales is out of line, you're going to get an audit. Now, it might just be a letter saying, hey, explain this, or it might be, hey, we want to talk face to face. So I pushed it back to him, and I said, you need to break these down into a more level. You can't throw too much into just one category. And he did, and I said, okay, doc, is this accurate? Can you support it? And he goes, I have a copy for everything. I said, okay, well, we need to talk about where that copy is and how fast we can get to it. And within a month, he became another bookkeeping client, because he realized he just, he needed to focus on his business, and it needed to be accurate and need to be there immediately. So the third part of brand advocacy that we want to talk about is just understanding the business and the industry, and making the paperwork process flow efficient and effective. So I plan to be in every corporate meeting that you have with your franchisees, if I can, because that really helps give me insight and that closeness of understanding what they're going through. With your key performance indicators, you can manage by exception rather than trying to manage by too much detail. And also with a good dashboard, you become aware of issues before they start to happen. And we want to see them quickly as well. Okay, I'm going to shift gears here because I'm really going to get through this slide, and we're going to have extra time. Go to lunch early, or go home before the weather gets any worse. But in my 12 plus years of experience, I ran into this. The client perception of the ideal is make all the paperwork go away, make all the taxes go away, do it before I even give the data to you, and do it for free. And the real is, in working with these accountants, is they really just want to hide behind, go into their office, hide behind the door, and just shove paperwork, just shove it under the door, and I'll let you know what the number is at the end. And that leads to this false perception, or this wrong or worse perception for the bottom line, is to just say a number's a number. A number's not a number unless it's characterized properly and it's in the right slot, and it gives you good information. So I'll sidetrack for just a moment. Let's leave it on there. Probably every year I get a client that comes to me and says, okay, like this year, 2016, got 2015 taxes to deal with. What can I do? Well, you got a time machine, we're past the deadline. And they go, I know you, Doug. And most of my clients, I've been with them a long time, and I go, okay, you're right. So let's take a look at what you're doing for your retirement plan. Let's take a look at what you're doing for how you're tracking your mileage and some of your other expenses. What purchases did you really have that we can move around a little bit into how we depreciate them? So there's still some things that can be done after the fact, which I don't mind doing because the IRS also has a time machine. So we offer 3 levels of service. There's technical, strategic, and visionary, and a lot of accountants will focus on the technical, which consists of just data entry, bookkeeping, reconciling, tax prep. And these are critically important. You gotta have them, you gotta do them right. Then the strategic asks, how can past entries be adjusted to optimize the results? And, well, I guess I jumped ahead and explained that already, but you can adjust some of these entries and they can optimize results for you. I call these lag measures out of a book, 4 Disciplines of Execution. I don't know if anyone's read that. It's great. It's a great book. So they might be something like sales per square foot or sales per employee. These are kind of all after the fact, or they're lag measures, and they are important. They'll show on a dashboard, but they're not implementable for a lot of frontline employees. So I was out at Bricks a couple months ago, and I heard these 2 servers talking about the sales in one store and how their sales are better than this other store today. And I was thinking, how is that even important to them? I mean, I know it is at the upper level, but to them, what can they do? Are they going to take their paycheck and put it into advertising expense, or what are they going to do to increase those sales? There's not much they can do at that implement level. We'll talk more about the lead measures and what they could do and should be doing. So visionary talks more about, okay, I'm going to have this. I'm going to spend money in the future. How can we optimize that, and how can we make it have the best results possible? And these are lead measures. And a lead measure, I kind of think, or my mind goes to maybe Casual Pint and the events. And so if you have a lead measure of, let's say, 1 significant event per month and 6 smaller events where you just have a food truck or someone else coming over, these events, they create this economic affinity program with these other little food trucks and vendors and other people, and it gives great exposure. So you see multiple benefits. There's immediate plus ongoing benefits from it. So a lead measure never really hits the financial statement, right? It's something that you develop elsewhere and watch. We'll go through this quickly. So some visionary concepts are WIG, hedgehog, and distinguishing culture. And WIG is wildly important goals. So if you want to move your sales, let's say from 50 to 60, that's where you start. The WIG is where you start. Then you develop some lead measures, and then you take a look at your lag measures and see if they conform confirm or deny what your lead measures are doing, and then you might have to adjust your lead measures. Okay. Hedgehog is, have any of you read or Good to Great, or the book Good to Great? So So it comes from that, and it's, what are you best in the world at? What are you better than anyone else? And for that, I look at Big Kahuna Wings. And they have their own hedgehog concept, I realize, but I'm going to go into this other one for just a moment as an example and say, okay, let's say the servers have this concept in their mind of known and shown. Known and shown. I don't know. We go into BKW so often, I don't know when it was, maybe a couple weeks ago, and me and my son, and we sat down, and I don't know if it was Rhiannon or Big L or who it was, but they look at my son, 19, and they go, Dr. Pepper and your usual burger today? And my son was just beaming, just ear to ear. He's just so happy. He's like, I love it when I come somewhere, they have great food, and they know me. Okay. Well, he's shocked. My wife and he and I were out another day, and he shocked us because he's like the same thing every day. That's him. I mean, and he goes, no, I'm going to have something different today. And my wife and I look at him like, are you sick? And Big L's talking to us, and he goes, okay, well, what do you like? And nothing, dead silence. And come on, tell me what you like. And we go, well, he never tries anything. He doesn't know what else he might like. So, you know how Big L, his personality is like, just bowls over that and says, oh no, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like spicy? Do you like hot? Do you like sweet? What do you like? And Colton, my son, starts to kind of give a little more feedback. Big L goes, okay, just a moment. Comes back with a little sample of maybe 4 of the different sauces, just a little bit, but plenty to get an idea of what we want. So we launch my son now into boneless chicken wings with Big L special sauce. He loves that, you know, that one. So becoming known and showing new products, that's just the concept behind Hedgehog. And it'll be different for every culture that you find in every store should develop their own. Okay. So when we talk about culture, it's really kind of a fabric. It's not always really stated, right? You just know it when you see it. And I wanted to bring these out, and I used bad verbiage here, okay? But again, I'm going to like more of a restaurant environment and talking about servers. Okay, so this is my wife's pet peeve. She hates to be called ma'am, okay? So we say, I listed it poorly here saying never call a female ma'am. I say never serve over someone else's food or food area. And I say never pour into a glass that is sitting on the table. Okay. So now, how would you rephrase these to be positive if you're training your employees? What would you tell them? Always. What?
Always.
Always. So always what? Always call a female what?
Lady.
Your Highness.
Yeah.
Supreme Commander of Allied Forces. That's, you know, my
That's what
wife.
everybody calls me.
How about miss? How about miss?
Yeah.
Would you ever be offended? You're 5 years old or you're 95.
Yeah.
Never going to be offended with miss, right? So always call a female miss. What about this one? Never serve over someone else's food. How would you rephrase that?
Always serve to the left of the customer.
Yeah, that's right. Always serve it to the left. What about this? Never pour into a glass that's sitting on a table. What would you say to your employee training them?
Always pick up the glass before you
Always pick up the glass. So why? Why do we want them to pick up the glass?
Because it's fitness.
Yeah. Yeah, how many times have you been in a restaurant and like, you know, it's like, well, the bottle of that picture just dripped on my steak. You know, I'm sure it's fine, but I've lost that atmosphere, and part of the price is that atmosphere. So this is what we do. We wanted to leave plenty of time for questioning. I, again, just want to state that we really focus on automating the data. We don't mark it up. If we have a tool, whether it's QuickBooks or HubDoc or anything else, even payroll services, whatever our cost is, and it's wholesale, that's what we charge to you. We make our money on where we are actually putting in solid effort. And we want to focus on personalizing the information, optimizing the decision. And I've been saying this for 8 years probably. So it's part of me. Do you have any questions? How about our remote people? Are you still there?
Yeah, we're listening.
Okay, great. Any questions?
I have a question. So what's the basic accounting package that you use? Would it be QuickBooks, Xero? Is it online, I take it?
Yeah, we use QuickBooks Online almost in every case.
Okay.
Yeah. I hated QuickBooks Online, okay? I dragged my feet forever on it. And about a year and a half ago, they changed. It wasn't quite there, but they got even better after that. And now I find it to be a really solid package. It's not perfect, but for the trade-off in what you can do with it is well worth it. So we believe it's really strong, and it integrates with a lot of other packages that you can develop your key performance indicators, whether it's Fathom or LivePlan or anything else, or your own custom package. So, okay, so please contact me. Please text me your name, and I will text back my V card, and you don't have to enter anything. But I did have some handouts on which is really just our business name. And because I know you two won't share. Oh, John doesn't get one. Sorry.
That's okay.
You can actually find the slideshow part at profileslides.accountlinks.biz. And you can also find our engagement at engage.accountlinks.biz. So I talked about engagement, and I remember so I'm not being presumptuous, but I'm giving out this engagement so that you have time to look it over and read it. But I was at another firm, and I was talking to this young woman, and I said, hey, I've got an engagement agreement to sign. And she goes, oh, Doug, so soon? So it took me a minute to pick up on it. I'm like, oh, yeah, not that type of engagement.
Something that's on my mind is how would I feel as a franchisee? And as a franchisee, would I feel comfortable, if I had a concern or a question, would I feel comfortable calling up the accountant and saying, hey, how do I do this, or what do I need to do? And I get that from you guys. I feel like there is that comfort, and that ability to talk to like normal individuals, not an accountant.
Yeah. I got an office phone you can call. Just call my cell phone. If you've got that type of question, everything should be flowing
Well, is that
smoothly.
accessibility going to be the same for the franchisees?
Absolutely, yeah. We plan to talk to the franchisees, hopefully not less than weekly, but certainly not going to be, I think it's written in the bid, at least monthly, right?
Yes, at least monthly.
So I don't have any clients that I don't know. I mean, I know their children. I eat at their homes. I know them. And that's how I do business. Now, as we grow out, let me say that. I did misspeak there. I do have a few clients that I've actually never met face to face. I engage with them remotely. I've serviced them remotely. And we've just continued on for 7+ years. But they've got my cell phone. They call. They don't abuse it, so.
Can I ask you, how do you plan to scale? Because you have franchise outlets that are being added to concepts on, it seems, almost a monthly basis or a daily basis.
Yeah.
So how can you handle a scale?
Okay, so let me back up here. I really wanted Casual Pine corporate business as a bookkeeper and accountant, and I was getting ready to run a bid, and I backed off, and I just said, look, for me to really service them correctly, I need more capacity. So I started looking for more capacity, and I have an affiliate firm in Georgia, and I really wanted someone local or more local, and so over time I've added a bookkeeper, but we still weren't where we needed to be. So I don't know, several months ago I connected with Patty, and things just started to fit into place. So Patty and I, now we talk about this concept of how many can we handle? Right now, if we were running the regular operations, how many can we handle? And I'm thinking for myself, if I'm doing the work, I'm thinking, 30 or so. And Patty's, from her experience, she's saying, oh, Doug, I've done 50 before. I know I can handle that. So we think, with our current bookkeeper, our current staff in place, plus my affiliate, easily 100 right now. And when it comes to communication, I really, not just the cell phone for me, but your franchisors, they're going to get calls mainly from vendors are like, where's my check, right? So I'll set up a separate business line just to take care of that for whatever concept. So that vendor calls and the answer goes, Casual Pine Bookkeeping, how can I direct your call? So we'll take care of it. We'll give that personal touch.
Can you explain a little bit, speaking of bill pay process?
Yeah. I I have ran through so many different systems. One that I was so hopeful for was Bill.com. So I jumped on board. I even started pre-selling it to some of my clients, and I ran it through the ringer, and they failed miserably. So I pulled out of Bill.com, and I don't know if I'm offending anyone by that or now, but
Can you tell us how they failed?
they didn't pay the vendor. They had a tremendous lead in the bills that they did pay, and the communication wasn't there when I needed it. So I'm the same way. You know, when I qualify a vendor, you know, I want to make sure that the communication goes back and forth. So I'm stuck paying a bill. The money's already gone out of my account, and these are significant bills, and these are on me. And I'm trying to call and say, hey, look, I need that bill paid. And you know, they're calling me. And I couldn't get through. And after about a week of a nightmare, I canceled the accounts, and counseling wasn't that easy either. So I developed my own system, and it works wonderfully well. I'm really pleased with it. We show the client the bills. They have access to it through their own reports and can get in and see it. And then every week I run a PDF file, email it with a green check mark on the bills that we're planning to pay. They open it up in a program called Tiny PDF, and usually they'll open it on their cell phone or their iPad, and they'll sign it and send it back.
So
That's it.
how do we get them to you? What's the process there? Because I'll get them daily, and I'm sure some other ones will too. How do we handle that? Along with, on the alcohol side, I have to pay as it's delivered. So
Yeah.
how do we?
So there's a couple of things I think you're talking about there. I was referring to like the accounts payable where you might have terms or at least a week to deliver the check, right? Cut a check and deliver it. The come in the store and the vendor's cash on delivery type
Well,
of
and not even the cash on delivery, because I know that's something separate, but I get at least invoices for produce a week. How am I getting those to you? How's that getting into the system?
Okay, so there's a couple of ways that we use, and I prefer truly HubDoc, but that doesn't always work, and doesn't always work for the end vendor because they don't have a scanner. So it's a cell phone app, and you can write it down. It's called. So I introduced you to Tiny PDF. This one's called Tiny Scanner. And if we have time during this demonstration, I'll show you how it works because it is really cool. Use your cell phone, take a picture of that, email it off. We'll take care of it from there. If it's 1 or 2, 3 sheets, it's faster than the scanner. In fact, I use it. I have a scanner that does 60 pages per minute. Pay through the nose for it. If it's 2 or 3 pages, I will use Tiny Scanner on my cell phone. That's how good the quality is and how fast it is. So a lot of my clients are small, so I set up everything for them. I set them up an email account under me, so it'd be like, so it's like Arches Foot Care. They have arches at bookkeeping.email. Everything goes to arches at bookkeeping.email, comes to us, we take care of it. You guys are in a different situation. You might have your own email account set up for bookkeeping at the Casual Pine or Big Honey Wings or wherever it is. So, or Go Burrito. That's up to you. I like it. I'm fine with it either way. I like having enough control that I can adjust who that email ends up going to, so that we can spread it over staff properly. But we can definitely work that out. So let's say, okay, scan, email. If you do have a scanner and you got a lot of paperwork, well, let's say you don't have a scanner, you have a lot of paperwork, just put it in a pouch and send it to us. You know, it's mail it to us. We'll scan it in, run it through our processes. If you do have a scanner, does anyone have a scanner other than John? You can answer this. Anyone have a scanner? No, you don't. Oh, you do?
We do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but you wouldn't really expect every franchisee, right, to have a scanner. Maybe. You could. You do.
That's the process.
They've all got all-in-one printers and.
A lot of them are built into copy printing experience.
Oh, okay. So on that, yeah, use Tiny PDF in your cell phone instead. I will show you, I promise. It's really easy to use. You can use your scanner, those big scanners. They're just really slow, and the quality is poor for the amount of storage they use. And you can continue to use that, that's fine. And then you can just drag it over. We can create a web dev folder on your desktop, and you can get it to us that way. But I'm really confident that once you use Tiny PDF or Tiny Scanner, you're not going to do it any other way. I could be wrong, but I go through a lot. I help take about 3 firms paperless, so I'm really familiar with going paperless and the trials that are involved with that. What else? What else you got? Let's go to the next thing. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, we went way back. Yeah. We'll go to the end again.
Doug, when it comes to KPIs and managing KPIs, how do you envision managing the KPIs and identifying those exceptions, if you will, and reporting that back to the franchisor for early identification of problems?
Okay, so do you already have your KPIs set in stone? I mean, are they already there? Not really. Probably not. And you probably should count on KPIs changing from time to time, all right? And then you should have different levels, those visionary as well as the lag measures on them, right? So for the lead measures, we're going to just have to work that out separately. Oh, we lost him, I bet. Mikey, are you still there? I can't tell. You want to try?
He has a meeting at 12:15. He may have had to leave.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for responding. Okay, he must have been the one that we heard a disconnect on this side. So work out something like, you know, number of events per month, and keep that. We'll work out how that gets reported back, and then for your own other KPIs. We're going to have standards that's this big, long dashboard that we'll go over monthly with people, but really for implementing that right away, what you want to do is look at something like, as a store owner, you want to look at how are my sales going today, and what kinds of expenses did I have last month to start generating these sales. So we want to cross over timelines to create a relevant KPI. If you're looking at my sales today versus my expenses today, that's government accounting. You know, that's not going to get you success in business. So they need to be developed. We'll have a dashboard for them. If we have to write our own code to get exactly what I want, we will do it. We will make that happen. I don't think that we're going to go to that extreme right off. But as things start to develop, I can definitely see it. I would love to have it like right on your cell phone where you like open an app and like, okay, here's where I am. Here's what I need to do today. Here's a crisis in that maybe my inventory is getting low and I got this event coming up. Remember, there are 6 events per month. I got this event coming up. I want to make sure it's planned for. Did I answer that? Whatever. So, am I out of time?
No.
So, I just wanted to talk about policies and manuals. And really, I just wanted to say, I've written two things on this big list. I've written several employee manuals. I've combined several employee manuals, and I have now found one from another, from a legal office that I think is the best employee manual I've ever seen, and I've gone through a lot of them. So we'll have that on our portal that you're welcome to glean from, and then adjust for your individual needs. You know, we'll help you do that. The next one is I really want to talk about security policy. Does everyone have a written security policy? Yes. Yes, you do. Because if you process credit cards, you have to be PCI compliant, and that means you have to have a written security policy. And in that written security policy, there's about 7 or 8 things just for the PCI compliance. One is quarterly scans from a qualified vendor that is accepted by the PCI Council. Another is antivirus logs and how they're maintained. So, you know, we write these policies and manuals and then we don't implement them. So it needs to be something that is implementable, and that's why I wanted to point out. We've got all these manuals, and they need to be there, and they need to be implementable. So that's where we want to help in that visionary and the strategic portions. So back to brand advocacy. What's your biggest concern? It's got to be getting that royalty payment, right?
Well, that's one, but I mean, you know, the week to week, month to month, you know, drill down, store, profit loss, all comes down to that bottom line. And I've heard a lot of talk, but I haven't heard, you know, tell me how, as a store owner, franchisee or franchisor, what's going to be in my bank account at the end of the month based upon all the stuff that's up there?
Okay, so John's bringing out something a little bit separate, and you'll see these financial statements that come out. Profit and loss. Profit and loss is not a cash flow statement. Okay, so we're talking
That's
two
what I'm
different.
looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you've been in the real world. The IRS agents, they haven't been in the real world. So you've been in the real world. You're more concerned about the checkbook than about some profit and loss that an accountant can generate for you. So there's actually a couple components. So you can have this big, long cash flow statement that backs out depreciation and does this and that. Is that really what you want? Not so much. You want 3 to 5 things that are going to tell you what your cash flow is, and if that cash flow is going to make you money next month, this month and next month. Okay? So that probably, if it's not already standardized, that we need to look at and make sure that it's easily accessible by each store owner. How often? How often do you think each store owner should look at that? If I was you guys, I'd be saying every day. Every day, right? Every day you want to make sure that that cash flow is being optimally used, and you don't want to be overwhelmed with information. So a cash flow statement will overwhelm. I've gone through, the short ones are a page and a half, you know. So you want a cash flow statement that is very succinct. So you need to run that out. How do you want to get that information? Got to be an app, right? Got to be an app, or open up a website, a secure website that just has that summary information. So some of that needs to come through. So let me talk about financial statements. How often can you run financial statements? Every day. You can run a financial statement every day. It will be most accurate after the bank account's reconciled. Okay? So we talk about 2 sets of books, and kind of that's sneaky to have 2 sets of books, right? No, that's not sneaky. That's absolutely correct. In fact, if you're an SEC traded corporation, you probably have 4 or 5 sets of books required by law. So yeah, you need your operational reporting, and then you need your tax reporting. and they're going to be separate. And you might have state tax reporting that doesn't allow federal depreciation schedules. So you might have, wherever you are, you might have 3 sets of books right now. So now it gets even more accurate after there's a tax compilation and things are prepared. So your financial statements really should be, available anytime, but you should really be looking at your KPI, and getting that KPI at the start might just be what your POS system is generating from one place and what your expenses are coming out of the general ledger or your accounts payable in another. Anything else?
Any other questions?
More questions?
Rachel, any questions on your end?
Miss Patty? Rob? All right.
If you're talking to me, please, we don't have any.
Okay.
Oh,
Fantastic. Okay, well, with that, we certainly want to thank Doug and Patty for taking the time and coming out on a snow day to present to us. So we really do appreciate you that time. The individual franchisors may be in contact with you for one-to-one meetings to learn a little bit more about some of the specifics. So
okay.
at this point, we turn it over to the individual franchisors.
All right. I appreciate you putting this together.